Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is Knowledge by Nikki with 1K at 9 a.m. Knowledge by Nikki at 9. And I am here today to talk to you all about staffing. So to all my salon owners out there, it's no such thing that you can't find somebody that works for your vision, for your culture, for whatever it is that you're trying to do next. It's no such thing. Now, let me not downplay that it's not a difficult task to find somebody that really fits your culture, really fits what it is that you're trying to do, but don't give up. There are ways to do it. Corporations do it every day, but the only way to be able to do this, guys, is you first have to know yourself. Okay, let me give you an example. When I had my third salon, I realized that my personal and professional career had evolved in a way that I needed a certain type of worker or service provider that could be able to take care and not have to depend on me for so much. I knew that I needed somebody that was responsible, that was great at critically thinking, that was self-managed. I knew that I needed this particular kind of person because one thing I don't do, I don't micromanage. If I have to do too much for you, then I start getting the feeling that I don't need you. I'm a person that likes to give an assignment, give you the tools, resources, whatever it is, and kind of walk away and do my thing and just make sure that the community property is together, all the bills are paid, and I need people that are basically leaders. I knew early that I was better equipped to manage and to grow people that had leadership potential. I knew that early. Now, how did I figure that out? Well, I'm glad you asked me. I figured that out by actually going through a series of personality assessment tests, character assessment tests. I found myself constantly being in different environments where if they wanted to do any type of profiling of me or my abilities, it was way beyond a bio, way beyond a resume. It was them really either giving me something written to fill out so they can assess it, or they would put me in certain scenarios and they would just watch me and see how I operated. They would give me assignments and only give me kind of a piece of what I was to do and wanted to see how I could troubleshoot and figure out the rest. So in this whole cycle of my own growth, I realized pretty early on that I needed people that were very self-managed. Okay, so now if I need people that are self-managed, I don't do good with people that require too much care. That doesn't work for me. That emotionally drains me. So I don't mind because I have coaching groups. So I love to share and to help people move along. But as a associate of mine, we were actually talking about, she's a mentor and I'm more of a coach. And I told her the way this works, if you were thinking in terms of a baby, and you got 9 months from the time of conception to the time the baby is delivered to get the baby prepared, get the baby ready to do whatever it needs to or have whatever it needs to have, and the mother to be prepared and everybody to be in place. I told her that was kind of her job. Mentors kind of do the 9 month, get you ready, make sure you're emotionally sound, make sure you're eating right and you're healthy and all these other things. And then I come and I birth the baby. I come when a lot of that has been done and I birth the baby. And then I show you how to raise the baby. That's what I learned early that I do. So what does that look like in terms of staff? I'll give you one decision that I made maybe at about the 15th year of owning my salons. And I actually had, did similar things earlier, but it was really crucial at this time because I was busy. My life was expanding. I went into a salon and I had, I think, maybe 7 chairs, 6 other than myself. And I knew for me to have the flexibility that I needed to have, that it was going to be essential for me to hire people that basically had probably at one time been an owner. They probably have been an owner at some point. So what I did was I sat down and I had already learned who I was. That's the first part is you, and I'm going to write that on the board, guys. You have to know who you are. You have to know what you can handle, what you can't handle, the type of people you're more compatible with. You have to, as you're growing to learn this, because a lot of us don't know it when we first come in, you have to, be honest with yourself about some of the things that you are, good or bad, and you have to just start to learn and analyze your relationships and reflect back on the people you had an easier time with, people that made you a little more comfortable in them being a part of your vision. Doesn't mean you have to be clones of each other, but you have to know you. That's the first thing. You have to know who you are. So in this cycle, I sat down, came up with an interviewing criteria based off of what I needed. I also had to look at, I need someone that's pretty regimented because I was a stickler for time. I needed somebody that cared about coming to work on time. I needed somebody that kept their appointments kind of together. They didn't have to be perfect, but not where it's just 1,000 people all over the place and we don't have enough seats and we don't have enough waiting chairs, or you have an age group that brings a lot of children and we don't have the capacity for those amount of children. So I also thought about, who are my clients? Who is my target market? I had to think about all of these things as I'm developing this one right here, my interviewing criteria. That actually had to come first. I would ask people questions. What is the age range of the clients that you actually are, presently servicing? If they said teenagers, I already knew teenagers travel in packs. They like to stand and hover around each other when they're at the chair. That teenagers they brought something different to the business that I could not accommodate. So if they told me that, scratch that off the list. So I had these things that I was looking for. Let me tell you what else I realized. The people that I was looking for that I call self-managed were probably going to be ex-owners. They were people who once used to own a salon. I found that if I targeted people that were maybe in, I would say, the 5 to 10 year ownership period. I didn't want anybody that was brand spanking new, like only owned for a year and a half, because they didn't really get the feel of it. They didn't go through the hard times with it. And I didn't want anybody that owned a salon for 20 or 30 years, because they sometimes will just come in and try to take over because they want to try to redo or do over what they obviously didn't do right. So I looked for someone that was in that 5 to 10 years period, and actually probably more like 5 to 7, that had owned a salon, but for whatever reason, whether it was they couldn't manage it or life or whatever, they had to let it go. I found that person was a perfect person to have the mindset that I needed, so that when I was absent, because I was traveling a lot for work, I know they would handle stuff and not have to call me and ask me, because they were self-managed, because they had already been in that position before. So I'm just giving you some examples of some of the things you're going to have to do. You're going to have to, first off, you're going to have to know really who you are. I mean, really who you are, because at the end of the day, we spend a lot of time in salons. We're talking 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, some people more. And we're spending a lot of time together. So there has to be some compatibility and some understanding of each other's differences, or it doesn't work, okay? So let's talk about staffing again. Let's go back. I just had to throw that in there to give you a little realistic example of how I went about coming up with this, but interviewing is first. So your interviewing criteria, you have to come up first. Now, this is a book that actually is on my website. It's called Who to Hire, or How to Hire, Who to Fire. And then the interviewing criteria and things like that, you can actually find in my book called Paper Makes Permanent. It's on my website also. My website is actually on the screen, so you can check it out. But this is the first thing you need to do. So you want to make sure you get some ironclad interviewing criteria. You are not out of order if you're at a commission salon especially, or even booth rental. If you make sure everybody has dependable transportation. Do you have a dependable car? Because I don't need to be explaining to your clients why you couldn't show up. This is a reality, and I'm going to put this out there. When people have kids that are very small, like babies, you already know, unless they have a phenomenal support system, babies get sick. They just do. And then if they don't have that type of support system, You're going to have some issues with them maybe having to be late because they had to deal with the children. And I'm not saying that these are bad things, but it's things that you have to just know that your business either can or can't accommodate. And you have to be honest about what you can deal with. If you know you're a salon that absolutely unequivocally does not allow children, there are no special favors for anybody, then if you have someone that has small kids, there's gonna be a time or two when somebody didn't pick them up, somebody didn't take them to school, they out of school, you didn't have a babysitter. You're gonna have to think about all of that when you're hiring, because you design your culture. Your business is totally drafted from you. You started it. It's going to breathe the way you breathe. It's going to move the way you move. It's going to be a lot of a mirror of who you are. So you have to think about that when you're hiring. In whatever stage you are in life, then that's how you're going to have to look for people to kind of fit into that, okay? So interviewing is first. Then we talk about, this is something that you should always be doing, campaigning. You know, we think back to elections, whether they were local or federal elections. We think back to elections. And those politicians are campaigning hard. I mean, they're out there. They're everywhere. Places they probably never would have went. They're out there campaigning. You have to always be campaigning. That means even if you have a full staff, you are always interested in getting potentials for later. People leave, people move, you have to fire them, life happens. But when you start campaigning, just like a politician, you have to have a tagline. You have to have something that you stand for. You have to have something that you deliver when you're speaking, what represents what you're about. You got to have something to tell people that if you come here, I am about this, that. You know, we offer 24/7 key entry. We offer classes every month. We offer extended training that the owner splits the tab with you, whatever. I'm just naming things. We offer paid vacations. You know, on your birthday, you get booth rental for free on holidays. We even allow your family to have discounts on products and whatever. There are many things that you can do. But when you're campaigning, you have to know, what is it that I'm about? And it's, you know, this is so watered down now. It has to be more than we're just, if you want a professional environment. Everybody says that. I have seen that on the window or under the sign of a salon, and I walk in and there's nothing professional about it. So what does that mean? You have to go a little deeper than that. I've been to salons where they said everything, you know, their tagline or their message under their sign name was something to do with professionalism, or their Facebook page says something to do with professionalism. Yet 90% of the people working there don't have a license. So that means they aren't really professional yet. You understand? So you have to figure out what works for your campaign. You might have a slogan, whatever your message is. You can get, you know, little things. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be a whole book. Think about an elevator pitch. Something, if you got on an elevator with somebody and say you had to go 50 floors or so, and they were a stylist, and you were like, oh, okay, like your hair. They say, I like yours too. And they say, you know, where do you get it done? You say, oh, I'm a stylist, and I own a salon over here, XYZ. And what about you? They say, oh, matter of fact, I'm a stylist also, and it's interesting you say you're over there. I'm looking for somewhere to work. What is it that you know, talk to me a little bit about your salon. You got to get it out. You got to get that out real quick in that elevator pitch. So you got to get something that at least will make them want to talk to you later. So you got to be campaigning. For those of you all that don't have a salon, you need to be out here beating the streets, promoting, whether you're going to get people directly out of school, or if you go to classes where obviously salon professionals are, you need to be there, working the room. You need to be literally fully staffed by the time you open your doors. And if you work it hard enough, You can. This is what politicians do. They're working a year or two before they actually even know if they're going to get the job, spending money that they don't even know they're going to need because they may or may not win, or they don't know if they're going to benefit from it, should I say. So campaigning is done, and it's always done, even as your business is growing. If you got staff, you say, you know what, I got staff, everything's great. But every time you're out and about, if you manage to bump into somebody that is a great service provider or can add something to your business, you have a great conversation with them, still tell them what you're about, slide them a card, they may have one of theirs, and you just keep that conversation going, okay? And this is why you want to do that. We're going to go a little further. I'm going to skip over this one right now. But the reason you want to do that is because there is something, and all of us know what an open house is when it comes to buying property. We all know what that is, but we're not doing it in our salon. See, that's where you keep a list of all those people that you ran across, that you just happen to have a conversation with, even if you don't have a chair, and you create these networking events. So this is when you're trying to hire and possibly when you're trying to expand. So you create networking events. Open houses for us are typically done on Sundays. Sundays work better than Mondays. People want to handle their business on Mondays. They don't want to sit up there with you all day. You can partner with different people to, whether it's provide food, you can actually have small vendors depending on what size your salon is. If you want to start a particular retail line, you've just decided to partner with a distributor that sells this product, that product, whatever it is. You're basically inviting people to your house to see how we do what we do over here. That's what we're doing. You could do these on a regular basis. You can partner with your local distributors to help you get other stylists that are within the vicinity. He or she has a great list. They know stylists you don't know. If you are looking for employees, your local distributor is a very good point of contact to help you to know a little bit more about them before they show you their imposter. He can tell you, no, you don't want her. Or, yeah, she's cool. Or whatever. He can give you some inside scoop on the people if you are trying to fill your chairs. But this you can do on a regular basis. This is something that keeps people knowing where you are, what you do. If you ever get a chair free, you just never know. You just got somebody that moved or decided to leave for whatever reason, and now you have this open house and you got 4 or 5 of them that you now got to interview to take that chair. It keeps the concept of always having fresh faces available to you. So this is something you can do these quarterly, once a month even. You can make it into an open house / pamper party where you maybe offer them some little fun stuff, have some, serving wine and cheese and whatever it is that you're about. You can partner with local nail technicians, and this is where this is a networking event that is done in your location for the purpose of prospecting. That is what you're doing. You're still looking at what the market has to offer. You may have somebody you really need to fire, but you don't want to lose that revenue. So you're like, okay, I know I'm going to have to fire them. That's what corporate does. Trust me, before they give you your pink slip, before they give you your walking papers, before they walk half the staff out and they had no idea they were losing their jobs, they figured out what they're going to do to either replace that income or replace you so that someone can continue to do your job. Oh, they don't just wake up and fire people. So what you're doing is you're keeping your networking and your options open at all times. And these are fun, guys. They're really fun. You can, get as elaborate as you are. If you really into certain stuff, then have it going on. You into maybe having a health fair. And I know a lot of us got these side gigs where we're doing, I don't care if it's Mary Kay or health supplements. I don't care what it is, but include it all. You could also make some money. Okay, this also is another great way to make some money. So this is something you need to look at also. Then we talk about getting the list. Now, what this means is every state has a regulatory board where all of the licensed professionals, cosmetologists, barbers, nail technicians, etc., they all have to get their licenses from this regulatory department. I'm in Illinois, so ours is the Illinois Department of Professional Regulations, but every state has it. Every state has the entire list, whether it's addresses, phone numbers, emails, whatever it is. They have all the information that they pretty much can have on every licensed professional in the state. Now, this list is not as easy as it used to be. It used to be as simple as just going, calling them up or going to wherever they are, because sometimes you might have to travel to the actual office and saying, look, I want to buy your list for every licensed professional in the state. I'll use my state, Illinois. When you get that list, because you need to get it, this will give you a pool, a very big, a ocean, should I say, of people that are licensed and that are available, obviously, in your state. Now, true enough, most states are pretty big, and people are not going to drive more than 20 minutes, maybe a half hour to their jobs every day. That's on average, okay? Unless the job is paying them a whole lot of money, they'll drive further. So when you get this list, the goal is to narrow down or filter down this list to a 20 to 30 mile radius. That means all sides, north, south, east, and west, from your zip code. Okay? That is what we're doing. So that means once you get the list, if this is something you're not skilled enough to do, then you need to have someone that's an administrative assistant or somebody that just does side work. Virtual assistants are great with this, even if they don't work for you all the time. They know how to do this. Most of those names on those lists are in Excel. They know how to literally, whatever your zip code is. So mine, I'll say this is mine. Mine is 60411. So whatever my zip code is, they literally do. This is me. This is what they do. They just put in every zip code. And you know what's funny? You can actually come up with the zip codes online. I've done it before. I actually just said, okay, go online, give me every zip code within 20, 30, or 30 miles of 60411. It'll just populate a list. Whoever's going to do it for you will probably take that list, and they'll literally just narrow those names down in all directions, north, south, east, and west. And now they actually have a good workable list for everything that you possibly are going to do. You need to hire people. You can now also invite them to the open house if you're looking for staff. Okay, and that's just the first part of it. So we got to get our interviewing criteria together. That's before we even start talking together. Figure out what we need. Figure out who you are, what you need, and come up with some questions to ask that's going to get you the answers that you need. We're campaigning. We're always campaigning. That could actually be working simultaneously with this if you haven't opened yet, or if you're, say, reopening. You want to make sure that you do an open house. You can even do an open house before you open. Let me tell you what else is great. If you haven't opened your salon yet, or say you're even expanding, which means maybe you're going to have more chairs, you can do just like developers do with homes. They go get somebody. Now, you might spend a little money for this, but it's worth it. They go get somebody to draw renders. That means they draw that beautiful picture of what the whole salon is going to look like. I mean, it's got everything in its place, and it's beautiful. And you put it up on the easel, and you have an open house. Look at what we're going to look like. This is what we're going to look like in July of 2019. This is what we're going to look like. And now you have a visual, even before you maybe have gotten furniture or whatever it is. But this is a visual. If you are out and about, you could actually have this done. They could obviously put it in a big poster board size, or they can do something smaller. You can have the pictures on your phone. If you're out and you're campaigning, you can show people what your salon looks like. You know, these are things we have to be always thinking of this, but this is something that also, that list can get you to having a really killer open house. It really can, okay? So, and the list can be compiled. You have to make a decision. Emails, phone numbers, or their addresses. Obviously, if it's addresses, then you may have to spend a little money and do a little snail mail just to make sure that you get it all out there. Do a really great flyer that tells everything about what you're about so you can get your message out. Obviously, if any of them come back, you know that these people no longer live there, and that's fine. So you take them off the list. So if you do have to mail things out, it's going to filter your list down a little more. So you might have to spend a little money to do that, depending on what type of list you get. Okay, and then we've interviewed them. We had the open house to kind of get them. We had the campaign. We got the list. So now we're basically at the interviewing part. We got some people in here to kind of look at it, see what they're about, and you know, because we're just in passing when we got them. We didn't really get a chance to talk to them in depth, but now we're going to talk to them in depth. We're going to sit them down. You should not have one interview. You should have more than one. We're going to sit them down. We're going to talk to them, ask them all these questions. Make sure that also if you have a staff already, or if you have at least a few people in your salon, they should also have the opportunity to interview them also. If you want to know more about how to do that, I have a book that you can buy online at knowledgebynikki.com called The New Salon Blueprint. It gives you kind of the criteria when you want to do more like group interviews on how to go about doing them. But you need to do a really good extensive interview. And I'm talking about just you're judging character. This is what I want every salon owner that's listening to this. We are no longer in a generation where we only need to consider technical ability. You need to consider character. Character is the thing that is what it is when it gets there. You probably won't change that. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. Technique or technical ability, as long as it's relatively decent, you can train the rest. We need to be in a place now. I know some really great stylists, technical, but I wouldn't hire them because their character is warped. We need to be looking at character. What is it that you're about? What is your integrity level? How honest are you? How dominant of a personality do you have? Or there are 1,000 things that where I'm going next is actually going to help you be able to assess in terms of their character. Some people are great soloists, but how do they work on a team? You're not selling suites, or you're not renting out suites. You're actually renting out a traditional open concept salon where people have to work together. So some people are great soloists. They're not good in a group. These are things that the next thing that I'm talking about, which is called staff assessments. There are hundreds of them out there. When I say hundreds, I do mean hundreds of them. Corporations have been using these staff assessments, and what they really are, guys, is character assessments. That's what they really are. These assessments have come up with a algorithm, and it's kind of more of a left brain, right brain sort of thinking, and they've been able to kind of figure out by asking you these really just basic questions that aren't really about anything. They've been able to figure out certain things that you would and you wouldn't do, certain characteristics, how you handle stress, how is your aggression control when you get angry, do you blow a gasket and start flipping tables and throwing curling irons, and how do you handle, are you reactive, are you proactive? These are the type of things. When you're working with somebody every day, you're going to want to know more of this than that. You are. Now, I'm not saying hire people that are technically just terrible, but this should not be the first and only thing that we do. And this is what's been happening in salons forever. What do? You come in, talk to them for a little bit, have them do a demo. That's it. You really have not tried to learn a little bit more about who they are as people. That's the key, because you all are there together a very long time together. So these are the things that literally can make or break your business. I have seen technically proficient people totally destroy a culture in a business because they were just cancer. They were cancerous people that, and I'm going to tell you, I have watched it, even when you already have employees. And let's say you get one bad apple. If you're not careful, I have watched that one bad apple literally start to poison and shift the minds of those that have been there forever. They start altering what they do. They start altering how they move. It's just like real cancer. You want to cut it out before it starts infecting the rest of your system. That's because once it does that, it will kill you. And I have seen it kill businesses, okay? This is what's most important. I didn't say anything really about how well they do hair. In order for you salon owners to get the type of people you want to get in your places of business, I don't care if you need 1, 3, 12, I don't care what it is. You're going to have to take your time, start planning and strategizing out how you're going to go about hiring. You're going to have to get help, which is what I talked about yesterday. If you don't know how to do it, I'm a coach. You can log on to knowledgebynikki.com. We got a 90-minute free consultation just for us to talk and see if what I offer is worth it for you and or working for you, and if you work for me. We basically have to find some compatibility in that. But this is what's going to build your business. This is what's going to sustain your business. And the minute some of this doesn't work or somebody doesn't work here, maybe you slip. Maybe you just realize that, oh, my God, she bamboozled me. Because now you know after this, and even after you hire them, you still need to have a probationary period. You still need to have a time period where you watch them. You all come back to the table, and you ask them, this is what I want to give you. The first question you ask them is, how is this your being here working for you? Because it's not just about them working for you. It has to also work for them. So you start that conversation off, and you make sure if there's anything that you need to address, that you write it down. And if it's dates you can remember or situations, you want to be able to address things the way they happen, so you don't get into, I don't remember doing that, and you like, yes, you did, no, I didn't, yes, you did. No, what you do is you make sure you have those things logged so you can help them remember the actual client, situation, whatever, of when it happened. But we need to come back to the table and do a probation assessment. And then from there is where we decide if this relationship needs to continue. This, as long as you're a business owner, you will never stop doing this completely unless you become one of the really fortunate ones that gets a staff and they stay there till they die. Now, if you have a salon like that, kudos to you, because that means you chose well and they don't ever want to leave. Okay, but we know that's not the norm. So these are the things. Now, this part here, who to fire? You fire anyone who starts to destroy your culture. You fire anyone that steals. You fire anyone who doesn't respect other people's property. You fire anyone that does not fit into the vision that you've desired for your salon to be, and clearly is not supportive of where you want your vision to go. You let them go before they start to kill your dream. And this is simple. If you have regular meetings, whether they're group meetings or individual meetings, these are the times when these things can get discussed. Now, sometimes they can be fixed. Everything, you don't just fire everybody because they just aren't working at this time. I have learned when I gave people time to talk to me, like I would have meetings and I'd have group ones and then I'd have meetings with individuals. When I had meetings with individuals, I would learn some things that obviously had them in this position or this mindset that wasn't working. And I understood. I said, okay, so what can I do to help you so that we can make this better for all of us, okay? Because that's something you got to do. Your people in your salon, even though they understand you're running a business, they have to know that you really do care about them as people. It cannot just be about what they bring to your business financially, because certain things do sometimes make even people with the best character do some really uncharacteristic things. And that's where you have to say, okay, let me see if this is something that we can work on. And if it's something that you can, then great. But if it's something that keeps showing up, if it's something that never changes, then they may have to work somewhere else. You know, I have a statement that I tell everybody I talk to when we get into these type of conversations. I said, God created everyone to be wonderful, to be great. And in my mind, everyone is great, but not for me. Everyone is great, but you just not for me. You be great over there. Because there are people that are compatible with other people, even if they're not compatible with you. But the goal is this character assessment is going to really help you determine compatibility. And what I do with the people that I coach, because I give them this test, and then if they have people they want to hire, I tell them, let me give them the test, administer the test also. And the goal is for me to teach them how to read it and to show them some things about themselves. And when I say my test, it's spot on. It is spot on. When I say I do not have to know you at all, and I can tell you exactly who you are, how you move, how you do stuff, whether you have anxiety, whether you have poor communication. I can literally tell you some of the things that you are probably experiencing either now or have based off of what those findings tell me. And to date, I haven't been wrong. And that's because I just learned how to read it. You know, the company teaches you how to analyze it, how to read it. So if this is who you are, this is who you are. You're the owner. So then you would in turn get your maybe future employee to take the test as well. And then I'll put them side by side. And I look at them and I tell you this. It's not a pass or fail. It's not a should you hire them or shouldn't you. I put them side by side and I say, okay, this is where you are on this graph. And this is where they are. Now, there are certain things they do need to be opposite of you. But not everything. And I tell you, I say, you know, you all probably going to end up in some struggles in that area. So it's really more of a FYI because the 90 days will tell you who they really are. Usually in 3 months, the imposter is gone and the real them shows up. So 90 days is pretty much when the probationary period should happen. And that will help you to know whether what you read was maybe just something right now or whether this is totally who they are, or because some people also mature out of things too. So, but these are the things that if you want to start getting better with your staffing, and it's not 100%, it's not ironclad, but it's at least a good 80%. That other 20 might sneak in the doors and you like, oh Lord, I slipped on that one. But we are having a constant turnaround of staff that is because they didn't fit the mold. Now, let me say this, and I'm looking in this camera at all of my salon owners. If you have extremely poor leadership abilities, then don't trip on whatever happens here. Because see, some of the reasons, and I'm being nice when I say some of the reasons you're going through the stuff you're going through is because of you. It's because of your poor leadership. It's because of your inability to put out fires before they burn down half the house. It's your inability maybe to know how to communicate well with people. Some of these things, even when you do all this right, I have seen, and you got this right, and they're great. I have seen salons with great workers and awful owners, and I have seen salons with great owners, and I don't know where they got those workers from. And the bottom line is, it's like dating. We have to find what fits. But unlike dating, we have to be more aggressive. This is more intentional, okay? In dating, I'm not saying run all over the world and just try to date everybody to see who fits. So that's a little different. But we do have to look at character. We have to look at what's the 5-year game plan for you. What is it that you're trying to do here? And let me give you all one tip before I go off of this live. I like to know what a person's goals are. If you say you want to open a salon, if you say you want to start your own product line, I don't really care what it is. Let me tell you something that is a reality today, owners, is that a lot of especially the millennials, a lot of the younger people today, they really don't want to work for you long. They want to work for someone because they have to, long enough just to get what they need, and then they're going to move on. So if you find that they have some other goals and some other dreams, support them in it. Don't have them feeling like they got to sneak to talk about stuff and to do stuff, and they feel bad about the fact that they actually want to leave and go open their own business, because it's not always personal. These were their dreams when they came there. And if you put them in a situation where they're not comfortable expressing their intentions, I'm not saying they walk around with a sign on their back every day talking about it, but if you don't do that, This is where I see things happen like walkouts, because people don't feel like they can be open with it. So they get in the back in the break room and they talking, and they start campaigning for your people, and they start seeing who they can take out the door with them. Okay, and I'm not saying this is always the reason why this happens, but a lot of times it is. If you find out, matter of fact, if they're nervous about telling you, make it part of your interviewing criteria. Have you ever thought about owning your own salon? And if they say, yeah, how soon? How soon would you like to own? They may say 5 years. How about this? While you're here, I'm going to pull you in and I'm going to show you some of the things that I do, or make sure that you're aware of some of the things that come with salon ownership. While you're growing, you're going to also be learning from the back end without having to carry the responsibility of how this thing goes. I guarantee you, unless it is a person with extremely warped character, they're going to appreciate that. And then they ain't got to sneak no more. It's not a secret. I don't have to be in the back room quarterbacking, trying to get everybody I can, and we all gonna roll up out of here on a Saturday one day when we know the boss is gone or the owner is gone. She gonna come back and all the stations gonna be cleaned out, and we just not gonna be here. Okay, so these are some of the things, because nothing is ironclad, but these are some of the things that can prevent those type of things from happening. Okay, so this is what I want everybody to understand about staffing. Staffing is not as hard as we're making it, but we got to do the work. When you open a salon, I told you yesterday, you wanted it, you got it. Now, you got to do more than do hair. You got to work your business, or it will just exist. And I tell you, if you don't create the culture, it will create itself. So you have to manage and control what that looks like, all right? So this is Knowledge by Nikki with 1K. That's at knowledgebynikki.com. So look me up online. I have salon reference books that talk about all of this stuff, okay? If you have any questions as to what some of the books are about, you can actually text me at my designated text line, which is 800-580-8074. This is a line that it comes directly to my phone, and if you have some questions, if I'm not working at the time, I can answer your questions and see what you need and kind of get you going. If you are interested in getting business help and getting someone to help you figure all this stuff out, then you can go on my website, and it has a consultation button. It's free. It's nothing but me and you talking for an hour and a half, for 90 minutes. I ask you questions, you ask me questions, and I try to see what you need and where you are, and let you know if there's a way that I can help you, and all the things that need to go along with us possibly having a relationship for at least a year. All my programs are a year. They're no longer than a year. And remember, like I told you yesterday, the goal of a coach is to give you all the information, resources, everything that you need to build what you're trying to do, and then it's over. And there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. So if you are interested, you need some help with this, it's just too much for you to manage on your own, or at least you need somebody to get you started, then go on knowledgebynikki.com with 1K and check it out. All right, this is New Year's Eve, guys. December 18, 2018. Tomorrow we will be in another year, and I thank God and I pray for all of you all to be safe tonight, to make sure that you don't go out and do nothing crazy, because it's enough craziness going on without us contributing to it. But have a safe night. I'm in Chicago. It's cold. So if you're here with me, have a warm night. You might want to stay in a little bit because it gets a little cold. But just enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you next year, right? And guess what we're going to talk about tomorrow, guys? We're going to talk about money. I actually want to go back. I had so many requests about understanding my savings calendar. People were like, oh, my God, that was great how you can save $10,000 in a year. And I think it would be befitting to actually do that class on January 1st, because who knew? It actually is taking the first 7 days of the year and telling you what to do in the second 7. So it's just a perfect time. So I'm going to actually do that video again, and I'm going to show you how we do it, how we actually can save. Some of y'all ain't never saved a dime, and $10,000 is not a lot of money for what some of you all make. But I just want to get you started. And there's ways in the calendar you can be more aggressive if you need to, but that is tomorrow, or that is not tomorrow, that is Tuesday. Oh, what's today? That today is, I don't know what today is, but it will be actually on January 2nd. Tomorrow we'll be talking about, no, we will be talking about that tomorrow. I am so confused with the days, guys. So This is what we'll be talking about on January 1st. And then January 2nd, that is correct, we'll be talking about how to save more money. Okay? So again, peace out. Knowledge by Nikki. That's YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm now starting to stream my videos on multiple channels. So if you don't catch me on one, you catch me on the other. But I'll see you back 9 a.m. Knowledge by Nikki at 9. Peace out. Have a wonderful, happy, and safe New Year. All righty?